Have you heard about HTTP 1 and HTTP 2? These are what's called network protocols. What a protocol is just a set of instructions so that information go from one point to another and backwards and forwards, and that two things can talk to each other. So it's a set of conventions. That's what a protocol is. On the internet, you have originally HTTP 1. That was the very first protocol that was developed. It was version 1. Version 2 came out a few years ago, in fact, several years ago. In terms of site speed, though, HTTP 1 has different ways of doing things than HTTP 2. Now, of course, you'd expect HTTP 2 to be a big improvement over version 1, and of course it is. The problem is, some servers are still running on HTTP 1. Now, why is that? Well, not everybody keeps the things up to date on the servers. So if it's your server, you should be running HTTP 2. Now, HTTP 3 is becoming available very soon. It's under the final development stages. So if you're still running HTTP 1 or 1.1, you're very old now. Let's take a look at GT metrics of how we can see if a resource is being loaded from HTTP 1, 1.1 or version 2. Let's have a look. Okay, we're looking at our New York Times site. We need to look at the waterfall view. Coming to here and scroll down. Now, how do we find out what protocol is using? Well, over here, if we click on the domain, if we hold our mouse, it tells us the IP address, but that doesn't give us the actual protocol. Let's come on to the plus over here and see what else it gives us. And there we go. It's telling you what protocol is being used for that particular asset, for that resource. Different resources might use different protocols. From the same server, though, it will always use the same protocol. But for example, a subdomain, which you've got on this site, you've got a lot of different sites and subdomains. So if the site's a subdomain, then it could be using a different protocol. So this is one that's static, and that one is G1. So let's have a look at that one. And that's HTTP 2, and scrolling down here, HTTP 2, which is what we'd probably expect. But they could be different. Now, that process is quite laborious if you want to go through all the 281 resources on here, the requests for 281, to see which is probably outdated. There is a tool that you can use, which we'll talk about in one of the upcoming next videos, and that's about using development tools to actually find out the protocol for each and every request. So just quickly looking up here on Google, you can see here it tells exactly what I've just said. HTTP is much faster, more reliable than HTTP 1. And if you want to know about HTTP 3, it's coming out fairly soon. As of May 2022, the protocol, HTTP 3 protocol, is in Internet Draft awaiting final review before publication. So by the time you've watched this video, you should seriously be looking at upgrading your service to HTTP 3 and checking if HTTP 3 is available. That gives you a quick rundown of the different protocols that can be used for downloading resources from. You should check this out if you're downloading resources from third-party servers.